Hey, welcome to the Extension Tech Roundtable with your host Stan Scrabbit and Jerry Butchko.
Hello.
This is a weekly program where we examine various technologies in Extension. Today's guest is Beth Raney from Penn State University, and our topic today is learn.extension.org. Welcome, everybody. Hey, Jerry, what's up? How's the weather out there?
Cold but sunny today, so that's a step up.
Right on. Yeah, we just had a 50-degree temperature swing, so we are now at around freezing, and it is just lovely here.
Isn't that lovely?
Hey, and today's guest, we have Beth Raney from Penn State. So,
hi.
Welcome. Hey, I'm glad that we got those tech issues kind of resolved. So, we are in the show today. So, today's topic is learn.extension.org, and I know that you do a lot with that. And you're out there kind of leading the charge on learn.extension.org. First of all, what is it, and why should we really care?
Learn is really a simple web app that it just seems like it could be so helpful to a lot of people. And we found some. It came about because we used to try to manually make a page for things that were going on, either the e-extension people were offering as webinars or people around the country in extension, and it seemed like there should be a better way to make that happen so it wasn't such a chore. And so learn.extension.org, this little app was created predominantly by Jason Young, and it is just a real simple listing of what's coming up that's provided by Extension or for Extension. Sometimes there are things that others that collaborate with Extension add in there too, and it can be both professional development, which was the initial idea, but also sometimes there's some things that kind of are crossovers that can be actually personal development for us too. I know a lot of the personal finance things are good for me personally, even though that's not my subject matter for work. So there's a lot of good stuff out there, and I'm a 4-H leader, and so some of the youth programs are good. And so I think it can really be beneficial to those of us in Extension from wherever, because those budgets that keep getting cut or the professional development sessions that keep getting cut back, we know that there's still things happening, but it's little bits here and there. And if we all share, we can all benefit from it instead of having to each recreate the wheel like maybe we had to do in the past when there wasn't this nice technology to share with each other.
Absolutely. And before we go any further, Jerry, you want to introduce our Q&A?
Oh, yeah. For everyone who's out there listening to us and has questions, please know that there is a Q&A app in the upper right-hand side of your screen. It looks like a little box of little boxes. If you click on that, it'll allow you to flip between the showcase and the Q&A app. And the Q&A app allows you to submit questions.
Very good. Hey, and you just mentioned this idea of sharing, and I think this is kind of really huge. Talking with Anne Adrian, I indicated that if we don't have our content out there for Extension, that other people will become more relevant than we are. And she kind of mentioned back that it wasn't really an issue of relevance. We will always be relevant because of the material that we provide. It's obscurity that's killing us, right? The fact that our content is not out there. And I look at this learn.extension as a great way of not only taking care of your local community, but also nationwide and globally helping people go out and excel. So what do you guys think?
Well, I think absolutely. I mean, I first became really aware of Extension in a real way. Not just a sort of I kind of thought about these folks. They're kind of 4-H related, right? And up until that moment, when I actually got a chance to check out Learn, and specifically one of the webinars, that I got a much richer sense, a much more immediate and sense of what extension was and what it could be, and that made me curious for more because it was personally relevant. Because I didn't grow up sort of in farm country with that background. I wasn't a member of 4-H, but I picked up, right? I sort of heard of. But once I encountered that, and it was a professional development webinar that drew me, I was hooked. I mean, right away I was sold. It's like, okay, there's something that's valuable here, and why haven't I heard about this before, right?
Yeah, I think that why haven't I heard about this before is the thing that we need people to realize, and one way or the other, we have to get something out there. So, just even little things like being able to have an event that's listed and learn, and click a button and to be able to tweet about it or put it on your Facebook page or pin it. Just those little places where it might get in people's faces that they hadn't noticed before.
Yeah, so I guess one of the first things is making sure that we get something up on learn.extension is really kind of thinking of a larger audience, not only taking care of what's in front of us, maybe face to face, because we can do this in a face to face arena, and also project it and send it out as a webinar, but using that learn.extension.org to kind of give it a broader audience, to get it into the sphere, to kind of spread the word out. And I like your idea of being able to, getting something up there and then being able to share it across all those other social media platforms. What other ideas do you have in that idea of how to get more people to know about these wonderful webinars? Because I use them all the time.
I think that I think what we want and try to do a lot of times is get kind of hot topics or emerging issues that extension is on top of, and if you or if whoever is an expert in that topic area puts together some things, can do a webinar. It doesn't have to be a day-long session. Sometimes those 30 minutes, 45, up to an hour, really get people's attention, and they learn enough about that topic that they can do further exploration, or they have some good resources to go to, and that's the kind of thing that I think will help us. And then but then us or whoever talking about them, just like any topic, if it's out there where people who are interested are at, and you have to know your audience, and know if they're on social media, or I occasionally get email messages that say these programs are going to be available on the webinar, and here's the links to learn. Military Families is really good about that, and making sure that people are aware of what the upcoming topics are, so you can pick the ones that get your attention. But sometimes I know some states or counties also have their sessions that they're offering for their state, but heck, other people might be interested in them, and they add them to learn. There's also a kind of working on a widget available for Learn that you can have it list things that are just all the upcoming things, or it can be things around a certain topic tag. So maybe putting that, again, where people are paying attention. That's the big trick, is to know your audience.
Well, I think one of the unique things about what Learn and Extension offers is really approaching these topic areas, these subjects, from an applied perspective, right? So, and I know that military families, for example, again, my first introduction was through a continuing education webinar, right? So there was a practical use for me as a professional that drew my attention. What I found there was really applicable, really useful, and I think one other way that we can share that out is to look at, well, where are those opportunities like that to tie into professionals and the need, their interest and their need for continuing education and keeping current. And then I think too that naturally, because from my own experience, once I discovered this, it's like, oh, okay, hey folks, over here, check this out, So I was tied into social networks, and my colleagues who are out there, we follow one another, and I kind of pointed this out. It's like, look, check this out, and I think that evolved over time. because I've noticed and I recognize names going from webinar to webinar. I start to recognize folks, right, names that are kind of showing up frequently, and I've noticed the percentage of folks, from that direction growing over time as the awareness grew, and I'm sure they're also, sharing this stuff out. So that's another, sort of path to getting the word out.
Yeah, and Steve Newman, he just added a question in there, or not a question, but really a statement, talking about getting other educators really involved. And what he said is it takes an expectation for participation to be delivered top down in each institution, so educators and specialists, will participate. Many of the educators feel that if my directors don't expect me to do it, they spend their time on the challenges at hand. So I think, my observation, and I'm relatively new to Extension, 6 years now, and I still think that's new, in the kind of the grand scheme of things, is we are so focused local that we're not seeing what the additional benefits are to, to opening this up to more people, to make awareness, because people talk to each other. If they see a great webinar, they'll tell somebody who maybe is in that area that we have this webinar available to us. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think that people have to find the things that are interesting to them, and that's the big thing. And kind of getting that started is important. I think local agents certainly they have a lot to do, and they are focused. But I think a lot more they are also realizing that, or they know that they need to keep up on what's new and current as well. And so I think those are the things that may get their attention. Some of the sessions that are held as webinars are more, they're good to know, but they may not be like you need to know this today kind of things. And those are the things sometimes will get people's attention.
Well, and I think there's a natural synergy there. I mean, when I came to become aware of Extension, I wasn't aware of Extension as a local resource. That wasn't there in my mind, right? So I came to know first Extension as this sort of broader public resource, this public institution in my mind, and it's after interacting with it, I realized, oh, this is how it's structured, and there are local resources, and so it led me to identify the local agents and the local programs that Extension was offering, and so I kind of explored that a little bit there too, and found some rich content as well.
That's perfect, and those are the kind of examples I think that sometimes local agents or even in the state need to be aware that people are going to learn about them because they do some of these bigger things, or even just Extension in general, getting their name out is going to draw people back to their local audience or local educators if as appropriate.
Very cool. Hey, obviously this is a kind of a hot topic because we're starting to rack up some questions and comments. But before we get to them, time for a short break. And this is from our Ask an Expert. Ask an Expert is a service provided by eextension.org where you can get one-to-one expert answers from cooperative extension educators and volunteers from across the United States. So far, approximately 200,000 questions have been asked since 2008 on topics ranging from food preservation to pruning and 4-H to social media. Do you got a burning question? Go to ask.extension.org to get your expert answer. So a little plug for Ask an Expert. But as we're kind of racking these things up, let's. Larry Lipke asked, I think, really kind of a question, and it may take us into actually showing this Learn.Extension.
Yes.
But he wants to know, what about adding non-date specific things to Learn.Extension.org? For example, many extension educators have created videos of various sorts, which are posted to websites, YouTube, Vimeo. Should they use Learn as a means to promote these videos?
I think they can. I think initially people come because there's something that they actually want to participate in. They want to be able to ask questions at the time that, like we are today. But there's also, once you realize Learn is available, then people can do a search and see what else is, maybe they've missed, and that's where some of the things that Larry's talking about might come into play. Let me see if I can screen share, and if this works. There we go.
We see it.
Okay, well, this is, let me just start over here. This is just the homepage of learn.extension.org. It's, from eExtension, has the Learn logo, so that's kind of where that comes from. But there's always going to be some upcoming things in the first column, and then if you scroll down the second column, you'll see recent, and you can click view if you want to see those. And all this is available without any kind of sign-in or anything. But you can see these ones that have the green dots. Those are ones that already have they're past tense, and they have a recording available that you can take a look at. So if I just click on one, this is on the data visualization that happened yesterday, but they have the link to the recording. And so the same way, even though people actually participated at the time, and then they added the link to the recording so I could watch it today if I missed yesterday, people could also go in and add the things that Larry is suggesting. If they already have something that's up in YouTube or Vimeo, whether or not it got in here before they did it, or maybe it wasn't, maybe they just recorded it in a vacuum, but now they want people to see it, then it can be added like this. And in this case, if I don't know if I can spell right. I search on data visualization. Well, it does only find this one, but if you find more things, maybe there we go. If I search for backyard poultry, there's lots of things. These are all coming up, so they're far into next year. But you can see that they have quite a few in the past that have, like, poultry processing. So if you get pulled in because you're interested in any aspect of the poultry industry, or having your own, few in the backyard, so to speak, you might take a look back and see some of these other ones.
Yeah, I've had friends from college who've gotten into urban homesteading, so they have little backyard flocks and little kind of gardening going. And that was awesome to find. I mean, I'm not engaged in that stuff, but it was something I kind of pointed out to some of my friends.
And you were mentioning about kind of adding maybe some not date-specific items. So basically, you would go in as an extension educator, create a new event, and then you would have to go back and edit it and just put in the recording, correct?
That's exactly right. And if you want to actually, like I said before, you can look at anything on Learn without having to sign in. If you want to do any kind of editing or interacting with the site, as far as having it remember things about you, you do need to sign in. As an extension educator, I would sign in with my eExtension account, but anybody that wants to just kind of add a comment to a page, or if you're outside of extension and you have some professional development you want to add here, you could sign in with one of these other pieces.
Okay.
Okay, and because I've used this computer before, it remembered me, so it knows I'm Beth Raney. So here's the create a new event, and just like you described, Stan, I would have to fill out these fields, and what you see here is an event location. So it doesn't really initially have a place for that recording. You have to kind of go through, as you said, and create it, save it, and then come back in after the fact. I'll just click this one. Once it's been created, I can come in and click the edit button, and then down at the bottom, oh, my bad. I picked one that's not happening.
Yeah, it has to be the past tense. Yeah.
It has to be up, yeah. I didn't scroll down at here. Like the one we have for this event happening right now. Once it's started, now I can click on edit, and there will be a place for the recording. So this is probably where the YouTube or the Google Plus link will go after we're done today.
And actually, you can just copy that event location and drop it right in there, and that would work fine.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. We can take care of it right now.
Thank you.
And then I'll save at the bottom.
Yeah.
And this is also, just while we're here, if you want to kind of keep track of things for yourself and to help the others, to know who you're working with, I can click that I attended this event because I'm here right now. And sometimes that just helps people to kind of keep track. For extension educators who, at the end of the year or at the end of some time period, have to, let their supervisors or whoever know that they participated, that helps create a list of that. And there's also this comments down at the bottom that sometimes we've had a few sessions, and it's an opportunity for any session that's in Learn, where people can actually go in here and add, what they thought were the key takeaways, or ask a question about something that maybe was touched on, but they want to get a little more conversation going. And the comments, then you can either reply to a specific comment, or you can start a comment on a new thread.
Very good. Hey, a couple, just kind of clean up some of these comments here. Karen Jeanette, she mentioned in a meeting at DoD, one person said he really appreciated both the webinars from the military family personal finance, his topical area, and how to control gophers. So we do have
important life subject areas.
Yeah, a lot of different topics out there.
It goes back to that professional and personal development.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the other page that Karen, I think, mentioned, that military families includes the Learn widget. Basically, down here at the bottom, you can see the webinars listed. So for each of their kind of sub areas that they work with, it includes what's coming up, and that's developed by using some widget code that is easy to create, and then you just pop it into your web page.
Very cool.
Counties could use that, states could use that, or specific subject matter area people could use those widgets.
Yeah, and this is pretty new, isn't it? Being able to have this widget.
Fairly new, yeah.
Fairly new.
And it's not well publicized. That's one of those little known.
Well, you're hearing about it now.
Obscurity things, and I think that you just go to learn.extension.org and add the word widgets at the end, and you just kind of have to know that. Right now, it's not linked anywhere, but this is where Front Porch is kind of a broad-based one, but then down here at the bottom, you'll see the code for, and the example here is horses and how it lists these. We just saw the military families use specific ones, and it'll just automatically, it's showing us the upcoming things, or in this case, I don't think there's any upcoming, so it shows recent. So it kind of helps that way.
Very good. I'll make sure this gets into the show notes so people can find it. So.
Hey, thanks.
And that was widgets, I think. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. And Amy Hayes, she has a question out there.
Great question.
Many webinars I attend are lecture or voiceover PowerPoint. Do you have some recommendations for people to learn more about the difference in webinars versus recorded lectures?
I think, just like Stan and Jerry have developed for this kind of a program, sometimes when you have more than one person, it makes it a little more interesting. You're less likely to lecture. And while you need to you have specific points you want to cover, you can also, that allows some adaptations along the way to make sure that you're hitting what your current audience is interested in, and then you can make sure that you get a few of your must-have points in there as well. Mm-hmm. But a lot of webinar, it depends on what kind of software you're using. This is a Hangout on Air, but if you're using one of the Adobe Connect or something like that, a lot of them do have various features built in that let you really engage your audience, and I think that's the big key maybe. And using those places on Learn where you can do the comments here. You can do the comments within the session. It helps to extend that learning too.
Well, I think too, I mean, to build on that, I think it's helpful. What I've seen in working with several teams or several groups who have kind of learned to do this, right, begin to use the tools in the webinar. I think what I've seen is that folks will seem to start with sort of what they know, right, which is a more traditional sort of presentation or lecture format. But over time, I've also watched folks, once they got comfortable with that, expanding a little bit and exploring sort of other ways to structure the learning experience that I think Amy Hayes is kind of suggesting and pointing to, where you can have something, be prepared, as Beth is saying, to maybe speak to us some fundamental points, but be prepared and really be intentional about approaching the learning experience as an opportunity for give and take, for questions and answers. And that might mean building in, as a presenter, those opportunities to prompt the audience, right? Or starting at the beginning to encourage, hey, as I'm going along, if you have questions, please ask them now. We're not going to save these questions for the last 5 minutes. I really want to hear what you're thinking about along these lines, and we're going to learn something from each other today. So you're kind of setting the context, right? Saying it's okay to ask questions. If you got them, throw them at me. Let's wrestle with them. So there are various ways to kind of to approach the interaction, and again, it's just giving some thought to it. And I like to think of it as what kind of a learning experience am I planning for? What is the look and feel and that I want to deliver or have experienced by the people I'll be interacting with.
Yeah, and yesterday I sat in on a session talking about how to create more engaging videos, and also talked about really this idea of webinars. And one of the things that the guy drove home, and I'll add the information in the show notes. I don't know his name right off the top of my head, but was really thinking about your imagery. That you use images also to tell a story, and you have to continuously change, which is one of the features that I like about Google Plus is the fact that as different people are talking, we're switching screens, we're going back and forth, we can add, we can go look at somebody's computer, just those things, just kind of keep it visually entertaining. And and he really talked about the kind of the science behind it, and that's why you have changes in music and sound effects and change in visuals and zooming in and out and just a variety of these things, just to kind of keep it visually attractive. So, and if you think about that as you're even doing your own webinars, to not just have one slide that you're talking about, or one in my case right now, one talking head forever, then it'll make it more engaging.
Although I do think it's kind of nice to see a person. Being able to see you, Stan and Jerry, as you've been talking makes it a little more interesting. Even within Learn, we have added the possibility to add kind of a cover page there if you want to. Again, just gets a little bit of a visual for people to connect with what it is that the session might be about. Sometimes that gets people's attention a little bit more as they're looking at it. Or if each page or each event also has a unique URL. So I could take the URL for this specific topic and share that. Or if I use the tweet or or any of these social media tools, that's what they will share, is this specific page's link. So you can always tell people to go to learn.extension.org, but if you're trying to get out about a specific topic, do a search and share that search URL, or use the specific one for this, and it brings them right to it. If you pin something, you have a visual to pin, and then it brings them back here to this page.
Something you mentioned too, Beth, that ties back to Amy's question. It makes me think too, if we can begin to explore more these kinds, again, kind of building on that knowledge base that people who are developing the trainings are build in instances where the learning experience does include being able to see people more, right? Hear them and get that interaction going. For me, it brings up sort of being conscious of sort of the shared adult education shared learning dynamics that are out there, you know, and considering your audience. So again, I attend a lot of the professional development webinars, and the audience typically are other professionals. And what we know, I think what we know from adult education, especially for professionals, is that they get a lot from sharing information with each other, from that interaction with one another. So there's a rich opportunity to really, again, have a very rich kind of learning experience that includes the person here there who's presenting, but has the potential of drawing in all this wealth of knowledge that's in the audience, what we think of as the audience, bringing them into the main dynamic and having that session be so much more. But again, it takes kind of thinking about it and planning for it, and structuring the interaction to give permission for that to happen, and then, you know, learning little ways of kind of facilitating that discussion so that, you know, that experience sort of gets encouraged and occurs. So I just wanted to throw that in there too.
Absolute. Hey, real quick, time for another pause. Okay. This time, actually talking about our topic at hand, learn.extension.org. It's your free access to cutting-edge learning events. These professional development sessions are brought to you by eXtension and are open to anyone. Popular topics include finance, energy, social media for business, and many others. Many of the sessions are recorded for your viewing convenience. Look to learn something new, then check out a session, learn.extension.org. And this has been, so far, a great session on this topic. So, but we are slowly working towards the end of our time. And one of the things we asked, Beth, do you got any book recommendations? Anything that that you want to put out there that you think people should be reading right now?
You know, I find that, you know, and it's just me, but I don't make it through a lot of books. So I apologize for that. But I really get a lot of the information that I'm interested in and read comes from tweets and, you know, people that I respect that share information, and then I follow up on reading those blog posts or those articles that they point me to. So I would, you know, that tends to be where I get some of my most up-to-date information as well, is what I'm following other people and just glean from what they have shared. So that curation by other people really is my primary source of new stuff.
Very
I
cool.
appreciate it.
Yeah, no, and I'm totally on board, you know. But every once in a while, someone like whips out a cool book that, and I buy it, I read it. So
there you go.
Those recommendations. So, hey, real quick, going around the room, what kind of cool stuff do you got planned? What's going on, Jerry? What do you got going on?
Wow. Well, the biggest thing that's on the front burner right now is the AFCPE annual conference. AFCPE, for those of you who aren't aware, is a organization that trains and develops financial counselors. And I know a lot of our colleagues in Extension, especially in the personal finance and financial security for all folks, may be members of that and familiar. But that's coming up in Seattle next week. So lots of things to look forward to there, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Very cool. Beth, what exciting things are you working on?
Well, we've been talking about what we could do with kind of updating some things with Learn, and maybe doing something more around metrics and how you know what's going on and who's been at the site, and maybe at your particular listing if you've added something in there. And we're looking at that. We're not sure quite exactly what people are interested in. Right now you can, well, I'm not going to bother, I guess, sharing it, but if you are on the Learn site and have signed in, there are a few little menu choices at the top that allow you to see your activity. So if you've actually checked that attended box, for example, it kind of keeps track of that. Or if you've been a presenter in a session, it keeps track of that. And we found that some people find that really helpful. The thing I really like is that you can go into your settings and have it send you notifications. You know, I get text messages about 15 minutes before a session is going to start, and that is so helpful to me. So we are looking at some other metrics kind of things, though, that might be helpful. And if anybody has ideas of that, I guess right Jerry has an idea.
Just a quick plug. You know, in relating, in using Learn as a professional in the community, I'll give a plug for actually registering and using that functionality. Because one of the things I do, you know, besides attending these things, the webinars, and getting something personally from it and professionally from it, as we talked about earlier, a lot of these topics are of interest to other folks as well. And when I find something that's especially good, you know, registering and having that activity kind of recorded for me allows me to more easily go back and find those resources that I can then share out, right? Either with other colleagues who might be particularly interested in that and could benefit from it, or from clients. Say, hey, look, check this out over here. You know, it's really good stuff. And this functionality, that, you know, being registered and having this kind of taken care of for me is a huge benefit. So I just wanted to kind of give a plug and encourage folks who haven't done it already, because I know we have a lot more folks attending the webinars that are getting benefit from them that aren't necessarily registered. I just want to, you know, kind of point out that there's a lot of use there.
Thank you. That's a great idea, and it does help you keep track. And like you said, not only all the things you participate in, but some other things that you like just get your attention, and you know somebody else might be interested. It makes it easier to find them maybe later. Good. The other thing that's coming up is the NAEPSDP conference that some people in Extension are. It's for program development and professional development people, and that's in San Antonio in December. So I'm going to do a session there on Ask an Expert and Learn and how you can use those in your learning. But I think Terry Meisenbach and Adrian are going to be there and talk about e-extension and some of the changes that are coming with it.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I'm going to probably write about this a little later here, but you know, I've been on this working out loud curating kick. And I think, you know, tapping into Learn.extension and just putting a blog post out, pick a topic that you can go in and curate all these sessions that are out there and give new exposure. You know, just pick a topic from poultry to finance to canning to whatever. I'm sure that we can find that. And so I'll put a blog post talking about it, maybe give an example on how you can possibly curate, and that would give, you know, more exposure to the good work that Learn's doing, and I think you guys are doing a great job.
Yeah.
Thanks. That sounds great.
So the news that I have, and it hasn't changed from day to day, is Beth and I are going to be neighbors, like 3 hours apart, but neighbors, and I'm moving over to Jamestown, New York, to work at Jamestown Community College, doing Director of Technology Enhanced Instruction. So everything that I've learned from Extension, my work here, I am pulling together and, you know, crafting out some new digital resources, new communities, new tweets, new Twitter accounts, things like that. So that'll come blasting off 1 December or so.
Awesome.
Boy. Welcome to the East.
It'll be fun. Yeah, I keep moving back and forth, you know. So, yeah, and the whole, you know, 3 hours, man, that's a piece of cake. We do 3 hours easily here. So, over there, it's like, oh my God, I got 3 coffee stops. So, but hey, great session. Thanks, Beth, for participating.
Thanks, Beth.
Thanks for the invitation. It was very fun.
Yeah, so, hey folks, this is another Extension Tech Roundtable. Thank you for participating. And for the folks that are on, Beth and Jerry, please stay on as we close this out. Everybody have a great weekend.
Yeah.